both glad and sad it's over. Hi, I'm Eric. I found my phone and welcome to another video. Today we are getting into the third and final installment on my thoughts on the first season of Global All-Stars. The finale just got posted today and I watched it and I have thoughts on both the finale and the few episodes that preceded it. I have done a couple installments cataloging my thoughts as we've gone through this season with a lot of varying opinions and some rants involved. I think it's time to talk about how this season ends, how it maybe makes up for some mistakes, how it course corrects, and what we can do in the future as well. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Obviously, spoilers ahead. I know who wins the show, and I will be mentioning it here because how you stick the landing of a season is important to what we should do next. So if you have not finished watching Global All-Stars and you do care to not know spoilers before you've done that, then I would wait before you watch this video. We're going to go through each of the episodes, so starting with the Makeover challenge, where each of the 6 remaining queens got to make over one of the 6 queens who had already gotten eliminated. And that was an interesting, fun thing to keep the other Global All-Stars having some screen time, having some confessionals, still getting their name out, even if it's been a while since they've been on a screen. For example, Athena or Miranda, they didn't get a lot of screen time, and it was good to get to see them again. Them getting painted in the houses of the remaining queens is a little interesting because it just means that they kind of function a little more as props in this episode rather than getting to shine. And there's no way for them to come back into the competition. Once you have been eliminated, you are eliminated. There's not some All-Stars 2 type twist where you can fight to get back into the competition. And I think that would have been cool to see happen, but I understand that production-wise it can be messy or hard to implement, but I think it would have been cool for a season like this to see some redemption happen within the main part of the competition based on how rigged the Final Four ended up being. But I do like how it ended up. Nelania did a really great job with Pythia, and she got her first win of the season, and that was just wonderful. She did spectacular, and I remember Queen having sass about that, and it was just really annoying, and it really just felt mean-spirited. I mean, Elenia has been in the top a lot, but has never gotten to win, and these queens, specifically Queen and Kitty, really have just punched her down in this season, and so it's good to actually see her get rewarded from it and get to have a win down before she enters the Final Four. I was very surprised to see Kitty down in the bottom with Vanity. I understand Vanity being in the bottom. I think, generally speaking, her performance in this season, she's had some really good lip syncs in which she has won those lip syncs, but I do think her making it to Final Four would have been a little bit unexpected. I think she had too much of an inner saboteur and too much working against her, even though of the non-English speaking queens, of the non-Ru girls, she was probably one of their favorites. But you can only go so far if you are doubting yourself and getting in your own way. That said, I do think Vanity beat Kitty in this lip sync. I think the editing in this was so weird. I just watched it and I was like, what is this? It was Believe from Cher. That's a great song. And I think Vanity actually did a really great job. After she did her Celine Dion lip sync, I went back and watched Vanity Vane's lip syncs. And I'll talk about lip syncs in a future video. I think I'll do a ranking of the Global All-Stars lip syncs in the future. Let me know if you want to see that. But I think Vanity Vane did beat Kitty in this lip sync, but they edited it and Kitty's track record was a lot better than Vanity's. So I understand why they would want to send Vanity home. But it did feel like Kitty could have just gotten snapped out of the competition because it wasn't fun to watch at all. It was very, I cringed, honestly. As we get into the tourism ad branding style challenge, I really enjoyed this. I think it was a fun concept that you get to market your part of the world in. It didn't feel super random like the acting challenge that we had earlier or some other challenges that just didn't feel international. It didn't feel global. And I think this challenge was actually a lot better in terms of that. You got to talk about the country of your choice. Tessa did pick Switzerland instead of Germany because she's from Switzerland. And fair enough. Don't make her do Germany. She's not actually from Germany. Alyssa Edwards got to choose what part of the United States that she did, and she did a great job. I honestly think that Alyssa deserved that win fully, and that was great to see wins go in places that were expected and made a lot of sense. I think Melania did a great job, but definitely a great second place job. And I actually really liked Tessa's ad. I thought the cow theme was funny. I lived the past year in Germany, and I don't think that Germans are known for being particularly humorous or particularly comedic. Tessa is hilarious. I find her very funny, and especially considering that it is not her first language, and given the fact that she's in Switzerland, it might not even be her second language. I think she did a great job. Alyssa did a great job maximizing the challenge. I think Melania understands what the judges want, and Tessa might not have given the judges what they want, but she gave me what I want, and that's what matters at the end of the day. The challenge did leave Queen and Tessa in the bottom, and I think the lip sync was fairly even. I think there were some editing things that made us look less on Tessa's performance, like cutting off her spins, and she definitely was dancing, especially in the second half. And I think people make a big fuss, and the editing makes a big fuss of her doing tricks in front of Queen and blocking her when Queen earlier in the lip syncs blocks her. Sure, she's not doing a whole split or like jumping down, and it's not when she's doing a headstand, but also Queen is choosing to do the handstand. Hershey walked right in front of Mirage, and even though Mirage still definitely won that lip sync, I don't think Hershey doing that was a detriment to her. I think some people just have expectations of what you can and cannot do in a lip sync, and I think Queen already shaded her by doing that. I think Tessa doing that is really just getting her lick back, and I don't really have a problem with that at all. At least how it's presented to us, I do think it's a more even lip sync than the Kitty Vanity lip sync, and so I'm okay with Queen's track record saving her from that. But Queen not understanding what the judges were saying, it was really like frustrating to watch, because she was all pitying about herself, but when other people pity themselves, like Melania or whoever, Queen just always have the same empathy. There are some queens that she definitely has gotten along with, but there's some queens that she's put down, and it's really frustrating to watch. And I'm not saying to send Queen or Kitty any hate on what you've seen. Don't send threats. You are random people, and they are people that you do not know. Please be a decent human and not do that. Don't waste your time. You have plenty of other things you could do in your day. But instead, you want to spread hate. Let's not. That said, I think we can rightfully call out the favoritism and the skewed biases that Queen had. And that definitely will take us into the next episode, which is the Lollapalooza. This probably is my favorite episode of the season. Yeah, it probably is either that or one of the talent shows at the beginning before we knew the mess we were going to get into. But especially late game, this is probably one of my favorite episodes. And it's not just because it's a bunch of lip syncs, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's that it's an episode that actually felt like we were celebrating everyone and all over the world. Everyone's talents shining, everyone's vibes just showing up in their lip syncs and getting to feel a lot of love. It felt like the eliminated queens were a bit overlooked in the Makeover challenge. Fair, it's not their challenge to compete in, but I really liked getting to see this talent shine. My only gripe is that they picked only RuPaul songs, and I get that it's fair that you're probably not going to have too many complicated songs in that way, not songs that are in really rapid fire songs. There's no Nicki verses in it. But I think the issue is, first of all, it's not stuff that we can really sing along to normally. We might know a few songs. I really like You Wear It Well, actually. I have listened to that in my regular everyday life. But I didn't know most of these other songs, and it didn't feel like I needed to necessarily know them. And it could have been fun to see some songs that were more internationally minded rather than Ru-minded. I think these songs being all Ru songs kind of gives the advantage to queens that have followed RuPaul for a long time. And I know one of the appeals of being on Global All Stars is to be judged in front of RuPaul. RuPaul is probably someone that all the queens there have held deep in their hearts and have really looked up to as an idol and a role model. And so it's possible they definitely know those songs. But it came down to a few times queens knowing the words specifically to this song. And this is not a song that you listen to casually on the radio. This is things that you are doing back to back to back. And you might not know all the words, because guess what? These are songs that you have not necessarily heard in your everyday life. And so I thought Eva La Queen could have made it all the way to finals just based on knowing the words. And I think it just kind of shows a bit of idol worship here and saying, oh, you have to know all RuPaul's songs in order to impress RuPaul. No, you should just be able to show off your lip syncing skills regardless and hopefully know the words to the songs, but maybe if you give songs that are a little more crowd pleasing, and if these songs are more widely known, more people are going to like it. I think ratings will go up in that, and also queens are going to give a better performance because they already know the words. They don't have to focus too much on that. Speaking of words, I think some queens are a little too preoccupied with certain faux pas and saying, oh, if you break this rule, it is a problem. Yeah, don't pick up these queens. Don't do something that is very non-consensual or something that puts a ton of danger in front of them. But you taking off your wig in a lip sync or Gala's falling off, for example, that doesn't mean you're immediately canceled out of lip sync. If you gave a better performance, you gave a better performance. And if you don't know every single word, I think we've all been there at some point where you do a song of karaoke and you forget a little bit of a verse and you realize, oh, it actually was saying you the whole time instead of I, or something of that nature, that it is slight differences. And it's okay, really, in my personal opinion, if a drag queen doesn't know all the words. I would like you to know at least 75%. If you are just pineappling the whole time, then I'm not going to be as excited about it. But I think we need to be real, especially with these songs, that it's not like you don't know the words to Bad Romance or something that's just so widely known and so popular within the drag community itself that you really just should know, and it's really kind of embarrassing that you don't. And also, people get nervous, people get stressed. It's okay to miss a 10-second part of a song if you got the rest of the 3 minutes. I think some of the Final Four's conversation about it, Kitty and Queen specifically, were putting down certain queens. I noticed most notably Galavero, particularly because I am a big fan of Galavero, and so every time they were very hypercritical and saying, oh, like, I really didn't expect her to win at all. Like, she was doing bad. She would mop the floor with either of them in a lip sync. They should feel super lucky that she did not have to challenge them to a lip sync, because Galavero, if she made it to the Final Four and they did an even good edit, would probably mop the floor with them. I don't know how she does Lady Gaga, but I'm sure she can. That said, even with all my love for Gala, I know that Soa Demuse did better in that final lip sync. I think the stunts from Gala were incredible. I love watching them, but Soa really just had the best outfit for it, and she had the positivity, the optimism, and she just embodied the song fully, and you didn't necessarily need too many stunts if you crushed it altogether. And so I was not expecting her to win the lip sync Lollapalooza, but I think it's deserved. Isn't it exciting to have several episodes in a row where you fully disagree with who won? That's wild. It should feel normal, but it hasn't been normal at all this season. And that brings us to the finale. I liked this dance challenge. I don't think you need to make it a TikTok dance. I don't think anyone's really focusing on copying the dances that the Final Four gave us. However, I think it was a fun challenge to make work if you were not going to do a live finale because it's All Stars. I do feel like this episode was a lot of course correction in kind of trying to make Kitty and Queen not look nearly as mean as they've done. We did not hear too many shady comments this episode, and I appreciate that. It was also nice to see the Global All Stars come back. It was nice to have each of the queens sit down with Michelle and Rue. It was lovely to see them choreograph with Jamal. It's nice for Jamal's purpose being on that panel and doing dance to actually finally come to use. I think with how they set up the episode, it made sense that we're going to do a 4-way lip sync. I am not a fan of multi-way lip syncs if it's more than 2 ways, a triple lip sync or 4-way lip sync. I think it's just too much. And so I'm glad that they each got their corner of the stage. I would love to see some supercuts or just the unedited cuts of Alyssa and Melania in particular. I think going into this episode, because of the reputations that both Queen and Kitty have gotten on the show and how the fan base doesn't like either of them, and how Alyssa and Melania have definitely been the 2 favorites, it makes sense that one of their probably primary missions for this season was to give Alyssa a crown. I think even though she had fewer wins than Queen or Kitty, I think she's a much more likable winner. And I think even though Melania didn't win, she was my favorite, I understand that Alyssa has put up enough fight. I think she is a staple of Drag Race, and it makes sense that she should have a crown as part of that. It just makes sense that someone who is so influential to Drag Race, and it's probably a big reason that many people know what Drag Race is and drag queens from that show. I think it makes sense that Alyssa could win, and I'm okay with the fact that she did. Like I said, I would prefer an international queen, a non-Ru girl, to win, but I think I was expecting it when RuPaul was literally crying in front of all of them, specifically about Alyssa. You can tell how much RuPaul cares about Alyssa, and you can just know in your heart of hearts that she's probably going to pick Alyssa. I did mention in my first breakdown of Global All-Stars that you have the catch-22 of Alyssa Edwards, where if she doesn't go far, it feels rigged, or if she goes very far, it's rigged. And yeah, I don't think she ever should have landed in the bottom. I don't think she deserved that first win. I think Queen did beat her in that first lip sync, but I think it definitely set up a little bit of momentum for her, even though she got a bunch of safes. Her having the tourism ad become her second win, it reminded me a bit of Nymphia win. How she had a very early win and then kind of like faded and was in safe a lot, never had to lip sync. And then she came back and got a final win very close to the end to give some momentum into winning. And I think Alyssa Edwards is going to have a little bit of pushback in terms of the one American winning in a batch of all international contestants. I think you could feel that way, but I think the fact that she was portrayed as the nicest of the three Ru girls, I think has given her a bit of a leg up. I'm looking at what my predictions were, and were they very off? Yes, but the final four people, I think, most likely to get the crown makes sense. I had in second place originally Alyssa, third place Nelania, fifth place Queen, and seventh place Kitty. I think in that order is how they were going to be willing to crown a queen. I think they gave Queen her comeback story. I think they had Kitty being comedy. I think Alyssa really just showed this is what she is. That's what she's done in 23 years. And Nelania is just amazing. And I think Nelania has won over the hearts of so many people. I hope her booking fees go up, and she is booked and busy. I did find it interesting that Soa got Miss Congeniality, or whatever they called it for Global All-Stars. It doesn't make sense as much to me based on what we had seen. It seems like Soa was very close to Queen, so I thought she was also more a bully in the cast, but maybe I was fully wrong. And that was just something that was editing. I didn't think Soa was someone that was considered everyone's favorite, but maybe I was wrong. I didn't know who it should go to. We have some shady queens here, and there are some people that just didn't have enough screen time. I feel like Miranda could have gotten it if she had gone farther. I think a lot of people really like her and think she's a sweetheart. I thought Ava had potentially a chance, or Pythia. I just think of those as the people who we have seen be very positive generally and just give warm energy. I feel like our edit for Soa was a little more confused. I'm totally okay with it. It's voted on by the queens, and they're the ones who are going to know what's going on the most there. So I totally respect it, and congratulations Soa on both your Lip Sync Assassin award as well as Miss Congeniality. You know, you didn't make it to the final four and you didn't get the 200,000, but you did show off your talent, and you did get over a quarter of that. So you're not walking away empty-handed. I'm glad to see other queens from non-Ru Girl franchises getting their flowers. I think that concludes the recaps of it. I think what we got out of the last two episodes was some of the best footage of the whole season, finding ways to celebrate all the girls. And I think even in this final episode, even though we really were down to the three original Ru girls and Nelania, I think they edited it in a way to make it much more empowering, having the other eliminated queens walk the runway for Best Drag on Earth, having them all get the Global All-Stars pin. Yes, I know we only saw them presented to the top four, but I saw in other footage that the queens that were eliminated also had one. So they're all part of this community. They're all getting love. Some obviously more than others, but I'm glad that they were all there and got to show off their runway at least one more time. And I think the last two episodes really felt like executing the potential that the whole season could have had. And so I did really like these last two episodes a lot more. I think seeing Kitty and Queen squirm a little bit was also a bit satisfying to watch in terms of a feeling of karma parasocially. Again, I don't know these people. Please don't send hate their way. But I think how they've been portrayed as kind of bullies and villains, and then seeing them get a bit of a comeuppance and then neither of them actually getting the crown, I think feels right storyline wise. I don't think the producers should go into Drag Race having these storylines, but I think in terms of how they have made these storylines come together, I think it does bring some sort of justice and satisfaction for viewers. And even though Alyssa was a rude girl herself, I could definitely tell that she was not trying to be as shady as some of these other queens. Yeah, she had her moments of being shady, but that is Alyssa. She definitely had her Alyssa-isms, but she wasn't just rude, and especially rude to very specific queens over and over again. And I like that she felt a little more diplomatic than her counterparts. I think that is important in crowning a winner. You want a queen that represents your brand, your business, your industry well. And I think Alyssa Edwards has been an icon for a long time. And I don't even know if Global All-Stars will actually put her more on the map. I think everyone who's watched Global All-Stars already knew who Alyssa Edwards was going in. Some people might have a more appreciation, but I don't think she was that strong in the edit for us to really get to know her more. I feel like we just reiterated what we had learned and got to have the joy of having Alyssa again, but I don't think I learned more about Alyssa in this season. So I don't know if this season will do wonders for her, but I think it's great to have a crown and scepter from Drag Race, and 200,000 doesn't hurt. And, you know, it's like a victory lap for her. She's been in this business for over 2 decades, and she deserves to prance and share the love and the joy that she's worked so hard to obtain. I think also the editing of these last 2 episodes show a potential willingness to change course and grow. I think it does mean that we could see a Global All-Stars 2. I don't know if people know rumor-wise if that's going to happen. I don't know many of the international franchises. I'm still fairly new to the US Drag Race even. And so I would like to see a Global All-Stars 2, but really only if they truly learn how to represent these queens fairly. If they make sure that rude girls are not getting special treatment, if they make sure that they are having more international judges on the judge panel, not just different Americans. I really liked that in the finale they had Miss Columbia. That's great. And she was giving great feedback and she was hyping up the queens. It was really lovely to see. I would love to see more international representation because you have the budget, you have the network, you absolutely can, and it's irrelevant to what you're doing. So I think you should just do it. I think having honest attempts to understand the drag in front of you from the judges would be really crucial. I feel like we had previously seen prior to the finale a distance and a detached nature of RuPaul, and I understand you're doing a lot of seasons. You are very booked and busy. You are hosting Lingo on the Game Show Network. So you have a lot going on, and I know that it might be hard to remember what everyone has done in the season, but it felt when she was having all the queens sashay away at the lip sync SmackDown, as well as just in the exits, she always just would say, you are and will always be an international icon, or thank you for an amazing season. And those pleasantries are nice to hear, but they're not specific, and it feels like before we got to Final Four, where we were getting some honest and more specific takes from Rue and Michelle, it feels like she didn't necessarily care about the queens that she was sending home. And so I think we have to have judges that are actively caring about each and every one of them and knowing fully what's going on this season. It feels like when filming that RuPaul's head was in so many different directions that I don't think she was able to give more specific presentness to each of the people that she was working with. And so I hope that the judges panel is more diverse, it's more international, more globally minded, and more attentive to each of the queens and thinking very specifically about what the queens are providing, what the queens' talents are, remembering to continue to be equitable in terms of English not necessarily being your first language, or that people come with different levels of resources. I think we seem to provide a lot more value and appreciation for these queens in the final 2 episodes, but it's unfortunate that it was really just these final 2 episodes that really hammered that home. That's what I would do to make the next season of this franchise better. I think you don't necessarily need to do it next year. Just find the time to really make a good season. You don't need to put too many production blockings. You don't need to pick favorites. Just let a season play out. I think a lot of reality TV has gotten so overly scripted and thought through that it means it's not interesting. This is reality TV. This is unscripted television theory. And you don't have to create a storyline. You can just let the thing play out, and then you can come up with a storyline and maybe make that make sense over time. But you don't have to just save people from production. Don't save your favorites. Just let it play out and see what happens. I think seasons that feel more organic and more natural are the seasons that people tend to prefer. And so I would prefer that to be your approach. I think it's easier to go in with no expectations rather than trying to craft narratives. I feel like that you're overthinking, you're overdoing it, overworking. Let's just take a deep breath and just let reality play out. It's one of the reasons why people are so drawn to reality TV. How people make decisions when they just end up doing it, rather than it being egged on by producers or by twists or whatever. I would love to see the come back into the competition type twist. I would like to see more shifts in momentum. It really felt like the RuPaul Girls were top dogs. They were just getting these challenges, and it really didn't allow for a lot of other queens to get their moments to shine. And I'm glad, at least during the lip sync Lollapalooza, that we got to see more queens shine. But it's unfortunate that it was really only an episode where you really could have done it throughout the whole season, not just the talent show and the Lollapalooza and the fashion runway of the finale. I think this does conclude everything I have to share. I will be watching all the lip syncs and ranking them again. I think, let me know again if you want to see that. I'll probably do that in the next couple weeks. But I can't say I necessarily enjoyed the season. I think there were certain episodes where I hate watched, but I think last week and this week felt better, especially last week. I really just loved seeing all these international queens shine. It makes me want to get into some more international franchises of Drag Race. If there are seasons that you think I really should watch, please let me know. I'm considering watching the Drag Race Mexico season that Galavaro is on. I know Spanish, so I'm considering doing Drag Race España as well as Drag Race Mexico. I also know German, so Drag Race Germany is a potential. But please let me know what you guys think. Please let me know your thoughts on this season, and if you know potential details about future seasons. If they are very spoiler heavy, please don't put them in the comments. My business email is on my About page. You can just send me an email, tell me the tea. Don't tell me who wins if that happens, because I do want to watch the season. But if it's something like a cast leak or that we know for sure it's going to be in production, feel free to send it my way. I would love to get involved and understand what is going on in the global Drag Race community, because this brand has gotten so international and globally minded, and I'm glad that we have so many franchises. And it's unfortunate that in a lot of ways this Global All Stars fumbled the bag on that, but I'm glad to see that they at least try to course correct towards the end. If you like this video, please like up this comment down below, which I'm going to do next on my channel. Please subscribe to my channel if you're not already and you'd like to be, and thanks for watching. This is TurtleStormer. Catch you later.